Last week, I just saw Avengers Infinity War, and it was great. I mean, it's not the best Marvel movie of all time, but it had a lot of things going for it. The film was especially entertaining to watch. It'll be a much more entertaining experience if you watch it with your friends. Yes, Mom, I have friends. I actually went into the movie starting up with a question, and it's regarding the villains of Marvel. So the question is this: did Thanos, the one purple giant he is, solve Marvel's villain problem? You could probably say, yeah, he kinda did. And for me, his overall portrayal in the film was a strong kinda to a light yes. He's not the best villain of all time. However, there were a lot of potential and concepts that were given to him to kind of set him apart from the thousands of generic villains we've been seeing in movies these days. Which is why I'm going to make a video explaining what's great about Thanos and how we can actually improve him as a villain. Also, so I can actually catch a grab on the popularity of this film. So, without further ado, let's get started. Thanos' motivation in the film is different in the comics. In the film, his motivation is actually to eliminate half the population of the universe in order to restore balance. Why does he want to do this? Well, overpopulation is literally the entire reason why his home planet, Planet Titan, is a barren fucking wasteland instead of a actual civilization. So from the motivation itself, it's really plausible why he wants to do this. I mean, for the most part, we as the audience can actually agree with that. Overpopulation does have a few problems here and there. However, because he wants to reach his goal through mass murder, he turns himself into a villain. Which is actually really great, because it shows that his villainy doesn't come from his motivation alone. It actually comes from how he's going to reach that motivation, which is pretty good. Sets him apart from like the fucking hundreds of generic villains, you know? Well, other generic villains. The problem here is that while he is set apart from a few more generic villains in superhero movies these days, it doesn't set him apart from supervillain in Marvel films. You see, in Marvel films, a lot of villains actually have really great motivations. However, it's just that they're lacking a few things to be able to flare the character up. So what's missing? I mean, his motivation is really great. Well, alright, coming on to the second point. So for this part of the video, I'm gonna have to make a comparison. I'm going to compare Thanos with someone that has a similar motivation to him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Richmond Valentine, the villain from Kingsman. So, let's start off with Valentine's motivation.
Richmond Valentine's a billionaire genius who has a plan to shed the planet of most of the population.
With greatness,
mankind is the virus, and I'm the cure.
sounds like a lot of people are going to die.
Valentine's motivation is a lot similar to Thanos. He wants to reduce the population, not in order to prevent overpopulation, but to decrease the amount of global warming and climate change on Earth. However, he doesn't do this like how the government does it. He doesn't create a program or a law to kind of fix this problem. Instead, he just decides to use a sound that triggers your brain to start wanting to kill a bunch of people. However, unlike Thanos, Valentine doesn't have a backstory or a explanation of how he got this motivation. Instead, he just wants to do this because he's rich and he can. However, ×2, Valentine shines where Thanos does not, and that is personality. Apart from the way Valentine talks, his overall character is really charismatic and even charming to a certain point. He's so charming to the point he managed to trick a lot of celebrities and politicians in order to join this party he has inside a freaking mountain. Holy shit. His personality also stems from the subversion of the typical James Bond villain. For one, he has a villain doesn't like violence.
You get blood on the carpet?
You have to take the carpet up.
Second, he's not a professional in this job. This is like his first time being a villain. Even at times, he actually needs to consolidate his hench lady. He can't defend himself, let alone even fire a gun. The only time he fires a freaking weapon is in that scene where he kills Harry. Spoilers. And finally, he doesn't act or do things the same way a rich, classy villain does. So yeah, I think that's what makes him interesting. Thanos, however, doesn't have these things. The concept of his personality is there, and it's to create a humanized version of him, making him a lot more relatable to us, the audience. I think it's probably the only thing that made him unique, and it had a lot of potential. However, they didn't explore it thoroughly enough, because they tried making Thanos at the same time terrifying. Instead of forcing him to be terrifying, you could actually make him terrifying solely because he's a charmer. In the film, Valentine, again, actually managed to trick a lot of people into using his device that in the end just turns them into a bunch of killing machines. And that's terrifying. It means that his charm and his personality is the basis to create tension and make him terrifying. Thanos, however, makes an insanely great concept, which is having the power to literally end the universe, sound a little bit undaunting. Which brings me to my final point. I think specification is really important for a character. If you want a visualization, I guess the motivation is the foundation, the personality is the building materials that you use to build with that foundation, and specifications are like the furniture. It makes the character more appealing to the audience, and of course it gives something unique. Again, taking examples from Kingsman, the specification of Valentine is through the way he talks.
I mean, literally. I see one drop of blood, that is me done.
And also his overall characterization and the subversions that come with him. Now, Thanos, the most specific thing about him is the fact that he has an Infinity Gauntlet and he has a relationship with his daughter, Gamora. But other than that, that's really it. There's not enough specifications to make him a lot more unique. So in turn, a lot of these points are really important in crafting a great villain. Anyways, let's get to the conclusion. Alright, so did Thanos fix Marvel's villain problem? Kinda. His motivation set him apart from hundreds of generic villains, and his personality does in fact separate him from the usual Marvel villains that we see from the previous movies. However, there was still a few points that were missed into crafting Thanos as a really unique villain. So all in all, Marvel has found the foundation that they're going to build on. All I need to do is just find the materials and the furniture and the decoration for that building. Anyways, this is M1xV, signing out.